welcome to the podcast. I'm Mike Cibola.
And I'm Luisa Winters, and together we are
Mid-Atlantic Drones. Well, last episode, or one of our past episodes, we talked about the Nelson ghost town, the El Dorado ghost town in Nelson, Nevada, outside of Las Vegas. And Luisa flew there. I've flown there as well, but she flew there recently during the NAB conference.
During the NAB conference, I went there in the morning of Sunday, and while I was flying, it dawned on me. I don't know, super smart or super stupid. I don't know yet. That it would be a great place to fly at night.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is a ghost town. So.
It is. It is a ghost town. So we went and talked to the owners, who were at first a little hesitant because it's really, really dark. And but then the lady, so I guess there's a married couple who is the owners of the town. So the wife. Talk to the other owners, the people who live there, who actually also work there, to see if it would bother them if we flew between 9 p.m. and midnight. And they were all like, yeah, no, it's good, it's cool, just come and fly. So we made the arrangements.
Now, did you see any ghosts?
I saw something, but I can't swear that it was a ghost.
But you can't catch ghosts on camera, so anything that you saw, it was not photographed.
It was not photographed, but I felt presences.
And one of the key things that you mentioned was that it was really dark there.
Oh my God! You could not see your hand in front of your face without additional lights.
So, how did you? One of the problems with night flight, as we know, being pilots and being night certified, is that you have to maintain your night vision. You can't have any white light. You've got to have colored lights and stuff. So did you set up some kind of thing to be able to see? What did you do for your screens? Tell me a little bit about that.
So we sure did. We were prepared. So I've been flying at night for a minute now, not just the drone, but as you know, the airplane as well. And the night adaptation of human eyes is an actual chemical and physical reaction. It's not just the pupils that go smaller or bigger, right? So it's an actual chemical reaction. And to protect your night vision, you should use either a red or a green flashlight. That protects your night vision. So that's what we did. For my iPhone, which is what I was using instead of an iPad, I actually went into the accessibility options of my iPhone, and I turned the red display on. So now I have it as a shortcut. If I press my home button 3 times, my whole display turns red.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I have to check I have an Android. I'll see if mine does
that.
Yeah,
it does.
Oh, very good.
Definitely it does. So
it's like, I guess, if you're you get up in the middle of the night and you turn on the light in the bathroom and then you turn it off and go back to bed, you can't see a thing.
Right.
Because you've disrupted that chemical in your eye.
Absolutely. So you know what I do, right?
You have a night light.
No, I actually close one eye.
Oh.
And then when I'm coming back to bed, I look with the other.
I just have a night light. Little dust plugged into the wall. So that's a big difference between day and night flying. And part of it really too is what they call parallax. Your eye, it's your perception. So your eyes, in the ability to see stereo, you have 2 eyes. They're offset a little bit. They put the images together, which, by the way, as we know, is how 3D mapping and modeling is done. With a drone, you're using flat images, but it uses the offset of different images to create the illusion of 3 dimensions and modeling and things, and using that.
And you do a lot of that, Mike.
I do,
all your construction work.
Yeah,
so, we got to do a podcast.
We're going to do a podcast on that later on in the blog. So
that's awesome.
Look for that.
Yeah.
So that's parallax, and at night that is disrupted.
Right.
And you have to account for that and know what the difference is, and it actually it disrupts your distance perception.
It really does. The depth perception is pretty much gone. So in my night waiver, I have some requirements.
I'm going to interrupt you there for a second. Yeah, and by the way, you do need a night waiver to fly at night.
You do, so and the FAA is requiring training to get this night waiver. And if you're interested in training, just contact us, either Luisa or Mike at Mid-Atlantic Drones, and we'll be glad to help you with that. But my night waiver actually is very specific. So it requires me to do a walkthrough of the place during the day, which of course, we had done the day before. And because I already knew we were going to come back at night, what I did was measure distances. I knew where I was going to be and what I wanted to shoot. So I actually measured the distance, not just empirically by walking, but actually with the instruments. So I got telemetry from the drone, and I knew that from where I was to, say, the crashed airplane, that there were 100 feet or whatever it was, I forget now, but I actually measured all of that and I was ready. And I also took very good notes of where the power lines were.
Yeah, there is one strategically placed power line that runs right through the middle of the site there that you cannot see at night.
Absolutely.
I mean, power lines are one of the things when you do night flying that will dog you. You just can't see them. You can't see them. They're very, very difficult to see during the day in the distance, and at night they're not visible. So
not at all. Right.
So not only is it more difficult because you need to know, you can't really judge your distance by looking at where the drone is and where you are and where you're flying. You have to kind of figure out ahead of time, and then you have to kind of concentrate on how far you're flying. So you're not just looking at the shot; you're looking at your distance. It's just a very much more complicated procedure and to fly at night. It's really nerve-wracking. It really is kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh my God, it's very much nerve-wracking. It reminds me very much of flying the airplane in IMC conditions. So where you can't see anything outside, say flying in the clouds, where you have to rely on your instruments.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it can be rewarding. I mean, night flight is great. You got some great images out there. You did something though called light painting.
Yeah, we did. It was amazing. So this is how it works. I had 2 Lume Cubes on my Mavic 2 Pro, right? So
and those fit right on the drone.
They fit right on the drone.
They fit the Mavic. They fit the Phantom. I don't know what else.
Right. So I had to buy a little bracket for the lights to go on, and Lume Cube they sell that. So it was no problem. And
these are battery powered. They plug into USB. They charge on their own, so they're not pulling power from the drone itself.
Correct. And not only that, even though my battery lasted a little bit less, and I'm talking about the drone battery because of the extra weight, right?
The flight profile.
Exactly. And but it still lasted a good 22, 23 minutes, and it was enough to do the light painting.
So what you did was you illuminated the subject with the drone from the air.
Absolutely. From the air. Well, I did a half orbit. So I couldn't illuminate the whole, say we did a plane and then we did a barn. I couldn't illuminate the whole subject in one passing. So what we did was do a very long exposure. The first one was 10 seconds. So the shutter was open for a full 10 seconds while the drone slowly illuminated the plane. So the drone moved. And in some of the shots, you can actually see the line of the light illuminating, you can see the drone. Let's just put it that way. Just a little streak of light. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this takes some getting used to. Is it the first time you did that?
It's not the first time I did that. It's the first time I did it successfully. So I've tried before, but now I think I have the gist of it. I actually even bought a wider angle lens for my DSLR, because this is done with a DSLR, right? So
on the ground, yeah.
Right. So, or it doesn't have to be mirrored, right? It could be mirrorless. It could be any camera that you can control the shutter speed. Because the shutter has to remain open for a long time. And after a couple of tries, we finally got a good combination between the speed of the flight and the shutter. It was amazing. And I don't know if you guys know that when you're flying the Mavic 2 at night, if you are at a certain altitude, and you can shut it off, but I didn't, an additional light turns on.
Right.
So I actually had to fly a little bit higher than that so that light wouldn't contaminate the scene.
I know on the Phantoms too, you have the option to turn off your different lights and things.
Right.
So you it's kind of a gray area with your night waiver because if you're flying at night, you have to be able to be seen by other by other aircrafts.
Right.
I think, what is it, 3 miles?
You have
Anti-collision lighting?
Anti-collision lightings, and the properties that those lights need to have is they need to have the ability of strobing, which mine did, even though I didn't strobe. You see, the regulations don't say they have to strobe.
Right. And as pilot command, you make these decisions.
Right. And they need to be either white or red. Mine were white. Mm-hmm. So actually I was within regulations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I guess my point was you can turn those off and on depending on the safety of the situation. So, and of course, if they're shining right in your eyes at night, that's a safety situation technically,
absolutely.
and you don't want to run your light vision.
Absolutely. As pilot in commands, we can make decisions to shut them off if we feel that those are endangering our mission. So
and again, night waivers are very specific. They have very specific rules to follow. So we're not advocating that you violate any of the stipulations in your night waiver. We're just saying that be safe.
Absolutely.
Know what you're doing and, follow the rules.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you did use Fox Fury on the ground as well. Fox Fury is another
Fox
LED.
Fury Lights. It's a company, right? Mm-hmm. They're called Fox Fury. You can go to foxfury.com and check out their lights. And this whole thing would not have been possible if it hadn't been for Fox Fury. So my friend Maria Cugini and her husband Mario Cugini, and really the whole family, they own Fox Fury Lights, and they had a booth at NAB because they do lights also for production. In fact, I own their lights for production, and we're using one of those lights right now. So I didn't have lights. I didn't come prepared to shoot at night. I mean, I had my Lume cubes, but I didn't have anything else. So I went to Maria and I'm like, Maria, help us. And Maria, generous to a fault. They're great lights. If you haven't met them, they'll be at NAB, at Interdrone. They are at all these drone places. So, check them out. They are the most lovely people that you've ever met. Seriously. So Maria lent me a couple of lights, including a red flashlight, because I didn't have one. So she lent me that red flashlight, and this whole thing would not have been possible without her, because one of the stipulations of my waiver is that I need to have a lit landing area.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So without her, this would not have been possible. Thank you, Fox Fury. Thank you, Maria. Seriously, love you all.
Thank you for that plug.
I mean, seriously.
By the way, they're not paying us anything.
No, they're not paying. Of course not. I wouldn't take a penny from them. They are really that great.
But I guess my point was you had, besides the drone light, the Lume cubes, you had something on the ground providing a base light. So you set your base light.
Right.
And how did you know that tell me about your thought process and how you figured out what lights to put on the ground versus the drone.
Right, so I had two of their Nomad lights, the Fox Fury ones, and I illuminated in a way that wouldn't interfere with my night vision, but I could still see where I was landing. You know, again, one of the problems was the sand. I mean, where do you take off? Where do you land? So we were lucky enough that there were picnic tables there, which is what I used for my landing and takeoff area.
Very good.
That was lit. And that was a little bit further from what we were shooting. So it didn't really interfere with our night vision.
You did something else called the tilt shifting.
Tilt shifting, oh my goodness. So we're going to have a podcast just on this technique. But it's when things look like miniatures. So what you do is you saturate and make the colors as even and as saturated as possible. Kind of if like you were painting a little miniature, you wouldn't paint it a dull color. You would paint it a red or yellow or green, right? Really bright things. And then it needs to look like if you were shooting a miniature. So it's going to look like macro photography in which you have a focal point that is in focus and everything else is out of focus. And let me tell you, that works for video, that works for stills. It just looks really good. People love it. People love it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you can see the results of her work, her flights, with the tilt shift, with the night light painting on our website. You have links to it Because we do have we have the
absolutely.
blog.
Yeah,
we have
you
the blog
can
on there.
just follow this link here, and it'll take you right to our blog and our adventures in night shooting at Nelson Ghost Town. And let me tell you, we were warned about ghosts and snakes. I didn't see any snakes.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
That's it for our podcast. I'm Mike Cibola.
And I'm Louisa Winters. See you next time.
We are Mid-Atlantic Drones.
Together we are Mid-Atlantic Drones. And we will see you next time.